Will Donald Trump's supporters care? Will they care? Is a question I've been asking a lot. People, the good people out there have been asking a lot. Will they care when Trump makes clear he either won't do the things he promised to do or will do things in a terrible way? Will actually implement policies that will hurt the very people who voted for him and supported him. And given a recent news item that you've probably heard about, I want to go back and review a video that we talked about some time ago. 2 months ago, we released a video titled, "Watch, Trump Wanders into Grocery Store, Shouts at People Until They Leave." Great title, admittedly. And that's what it was. He walked into a grocery store to do one of these photo ops to talk about, normally you go to the grocery store whenever Republican to mislead people about the causes of price increases and all that. So he was supposed to do that. He did some of it, but he also got distracted and was just shouting about jails and prisons and migrants and sort of the normal stuff. And I found it strange. And I'm sure back when I did that segment, I asked the question, are people going to fall for this? And now we know yes. The answer is yes, they are going to fall for it. So now that we have collectively as a country, if not each individual, I am wondering, will there be any post-voting regret once Trump is more transparent or just shows us through his actions what it actually looks like when he governs as opposed to what he campaigned on and the unrealistic promises that he made? So let's look at some of these videos, remind ourselves of this visit, and then we'll get to some reporting that anecdotally at least, and I hope this is more broadly representative, is not making his supporters happy.
Took them out of the cities.
Oh, by the way, please do click the subscribe button if you haven't yet. It's the easiest and a free way to support this show if you appreciate the work we do.
And they moved them into the United States of America. Think of it. You really have to think this because, I say it a lot, but I'm saying it now on live television. They come out of jails, prisons. There are a slight difference. One is tougher than the other. They come out of mental institutions, insane asylums, and they're terrorists and they're traffickers in women. They're traffickers in drugs and in children. And they're dumping them. They're criminals. They're dumping them into our country, and they're taking over our towns and cities. Look at New York. Look at Chicago. But look at the small towns. We can't let this happen. They are ruining our...
Okay. Going to do a photo op to talk about how you care about the pain of people as it pertains to grocery prices, which is supposedly what this visit was supposed to be about, and then shouting about something that, number one, he uses such provocatively, needlessly fear-mongering rhetoric, or such provocative, I should say, as I'm reviewing the sentence I just said. And that's not justified, but I'll remind you, if we even want to play his game, we can correctly point out that migrants with criminal records were released in larger numbers under Donald Trump than in the Biden years, but that's not something he wants to engage with. Then here he addresses the subject that he's kind of supposed to, and this gets at the core of what now he seems a little less confident about.
It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. We're going to win the election. We're going to turn the country around. We're going to get energy prices way down. That's going to bring other prices way down. And we're going to take care of crime. We're going to stop the crime. And we're going to deport the criminals that have been brought into our country. They're going back to the jails from which they came. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Just inspiring stuff, as you can see there. But people bought it. Why? Is it because every person was down with his particular rhetoric? Is it because every person wants the authoritarian nightmare that Trump could bring? Is it because every person thinks that when he speaks and is just standing there shouting about his three main talking points that he words strangely similarly every time, that's just really compelling stuff and he's so intelligent? No. Some do. His hardcore supporters do. But the people who made the difference in the election voted for him in large part because of that issue he started the second sentence with, which was about prices. and saying stuff like this as speeches.
A vote for Trump means your groceries will be cheaper. So many people mention, I go in, so many people mention groceries, that beautiful but simple word, groceries. Sir, my groceries. You don't think of it that way, but that's what they mention more than anything, my groceries.
Yeah, and in this Kirsten Welker interview, he said, groceries, you don't think of the word, but I'm now blanking again as I did in a different segment on the exact language, but the way he said it made it sound like he thinks he popularized the term groceries. I started saying it. People really care about it. Apples, and they gave examples of groceries. He knows that everyone uses that term, right? It's not a remarkable term. But regardless, and I'll give more examples of what he would say on the campaign trail, we now have a mega viral quote from his Time magazine interview, as Sam Stein reports on here. Trump tells Time he's not sure he can get the prices of groceries down. It's hard to bring things down once they're up. You know, it's very hard. And this was within the context of the interviewer asking him, would your presidency be a failure if you couldn't bring down prices? For the amount he promised that he was going to bring down prices, which I told you was not economically viable, but the amount that he said he was going to do this in dramatic ways, like cutting energy prices by 50%, which, thinking about what could cause that, again, is very economically concerning. But he's now admitting, I don't know if that's possible, which would be a huge failure by his standard, given how much he talked about it. We tried to warn people, and I'll address the broader topic in a second here, because some might go, well, at least he's going to try. Wait on that. But in this interview, he said, but I think we're going to try. I think we're going to do it still, but it could be very hard, so maybe not. So my presidency, don't say it's a failure if I don't bring prices down. Well, if he knows it's very difficult, now you'll see just a bunch of posts all over social media with that quote of him saying, I don't know, it's kind of hard to bring them down once they're up. Then why was he always saying stuff like this?
Here, it's going to go down a little bit. It just went down $100. We'll do that for you from the White House, all right?
Thank you.
All right, bye. Nice seeing you, everybody. Beautiful. They're your kids?
Yeah, they are. 3 boys.
Perfecto.
Perfecto. Interesting way to describe that. Then you have this.
We'll end inflation and make America affordable again. We're going to get the prices down. We have to get them down. It's too much. Groceries, cars, everything. We're going to get the prices down. But prices will come down. You just watch. They'll come down, and they'll come down fast. Not only with insurance, with everything. Tomorrow, I will end inflation. We will cut your taxes, end inflation, slash your prices. I will end inflation, slash your prices. To rapidly reduce inflation, I will end.
I think you get the point. He didn't act like it was going to be very difficult and possibly impossible when he was campaigning. When he was campaigning, he was saying somehow by implementing policies that would spike prices like tariffs and mass deportations, he was going to lower prices. And we said, that doesn't make sense. And MAGA went, hold on, just wait. And again, I've seen some people who have responded to these clips who voted for Trump concerned that he's backpedaling. Is this going to infuriate them as a general population? I hope so. Because this was his big thing. This and they're coming from jails. Without those two things, I don't know what his campaign was other than retribution. And then again, going back to what should have warned them of this. It's true, once the prices are elevated in a significant way, it's hard to bring them down. It's true that we've sort of gotten inflation under control, so the increase of prices is much slower. And it's happening in a much more economically healthy clip. But actually going back to the price of things pre-pandemic completely isn't going to happen ever. So let's prioritize in ways that don't, again, spike inflation, increasing the amount that people are earning. And then, yes, as it pertains to certain industries, making sure that prices are not indicative of corporate price gouging. But with solutions that have been articulated on that, you look at all of them, none of them were let's raise prices more by implementing massive tariffs. None of them, no economist ever said that's how you deal with the affordability issues, except for economist Trump. So it's not surprising, but why on earth are we now, apologies, are we just now having some supporters realize, oh, wait, he might not be able to do that for us? He might do the exact opposite. You remove a bunch of low-wage workers and get into a trade war. I don't think that'll help with affordability. Then he did tell this story at the New York Stock Exchange.
Oil and gas. There is no country in the world that has more. We're number one. I brought it to number one during my first term in terms of production. We're going to be number one plus. We'll do numbers that nobody will really see before. And when that happens, prices are going to start coming down because people can't afford their groceries, and they're going to be affording their groceries very soon. I tell the story about a woman who, an old woman, no money, went to a grocery store, had 3 apples. She put them down on the counter, and she looked, and she saw the price, and she said, "Would you excuse me?" And she walked one of the apples back to the refrigerator and came back to pay for the 2 apples. And she left with 2 apples. And the woman at the counter said that was so sad. And when I heard about the story...
Last time I was at the grocery store, the apples weren't displayed in a refrigerator. Could this story be fake? Could he be faking that story? No way. Now, in this Time Magazine interview, one other thing that has upset some of his supporters, let me read you this back and forth. The interviewer says, "Can I shift to the transgender issue? Obviously, sort of a major issue during the campaign. In 2016, you said that transgender people could use whatever bathroom they chose. Do you still feel that way?" Trump says, "When was that?" Oh, I don't know, maybe 2016 when the person said in their question, and they specify in 2016. And Trump says, "I don't want to get into the bathroom issue because it's a very small number of people we're talking about, and it's ripped apart our country, so they'll have to settle whatever the law finally agrees." Beautiful wording. "I'm a big believer in the Supreme Court. I'm going to go by the rulings, and so far, I think the rulings have been rulings that people are going along with, but we're talking about a very small number of people, and we're talking about it, and it gets massive coverage, and it's not a lot of people." Who is making the bathroom issue such a big issue? Your side, Donald. You ran this trans ad to fearmonger about trans policies on Vice President Harris's part that got so much airtime because your campaign and associated PACs were dumping millions into it. And now you want to go, I don't know. I don't take a stance on that. They said, but on that note, there's a big fight on this in Congress now. The incoming trans member from Delaware, Sarah McBride, says we should all be focused on more important issues. Do you agree? And Trump says, I do agree with that. On that, absolutely. As I was saying, it's a small number of people. Yeah, it's something to in part win because you scared people by blowing an issue both out of proportion and misleading people on the issue. Then to win the election, but because you know it's so psycho how much you fixate on it, you then go, I think we should focus on more consequential things. I don't think millions of dollars being dumped into convincing people that their biggest concern should be where other people go to bathrooms, or what happens whenever you're a trans inmate migrant. Maybe that's not the thing that every MAGA voter should be as fixated on as they think they should be. But who got them that way? Trump's team, Trump's campaign. And then Trump gets to play cute and go, I just don't think we should focus and demonize a small group of people this much. Ridiculous. Some of his supporters don't like that he's saying that, but you see why he's doing it. You get the best of both worlds. Get the political capital from fear-mongering about people and blowing an issue out of proportion. But don't look like the indecent person when you're actually pressed on it. So then, MAGA, why do you think he doesn't want to talk about this issue? That's my question. If you are so right on it, and those ads that they played over and over and over, Trump is for you, Kamala Harris is for they, them. If those were so right and so motivating, why does Trump not want to talk about it? Why does he agree with openly transgender member of Congress Sarah McBride saying, I'm not really coming here to battle it out over bathrooms? Just consider that. I don't know. Think about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Support the show. Get the members only bonus show by clicking that join button below.